Hit subscribe before the lights go out, because once we step inside these walls, there's no turning back. The words echoed in Daniel Rourke's head as he stared through the cracked windshield of his rental car. Sirens wailed behind him, slicing through the cold Colorado night. He had never imagined that a routine investigative documentary would push him into the center of a crime he didn't understand, or that the pursuit of truth would make him the hunted. Just 10 hours earlier, Daniel had been standing in front of ADX Florence, the world's most notorious supermax prison. A fortress of concrete and silence. No windows. No shadows. No mistakes. Every inmate locked behind steel and reinforced glass for 23 hours a day. It was a place built for the most dangerous minds on Earth. But Daniel wasn't here for the inmates. He was here because someone inside the prison had reached out to him, a whistleblower who claimed ADX wasn't the harshest prison in the world, not anymore. The message had arrived 2 nights before in an encrypted email written with careful, terrified precision. They're building something darker, bigger, hidden, and inmates are disappearing. If I vanish, tell the world. The sender called himself K. No rank, no badge, no identity, just the promise of evidence that would shake the global prison system. Daniel had spent his career exposing corruption, following leads that others were too afraid to touch. But this felt different. This felt like stepping into a sealed tomb. By noon, Daniel had been escorted into the administrative wing of ADX Florence under the guise of filming a documentary on high-security prison protocols. He knew the rules. No cameras where they weren't allowed, no names spoken out loud, no sudden movements. Yet even with guards watching him, something felt off. The hallways too quiet, the eyes too alert, the tension thick enough to choke on. He waited in a small interview room, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like insects tapping against a coffin. When the door opened, a man stepped in, face shadowed beneath a cap, prison badge turned inward. No handshake, no introduction. "You're Daniel," the man said. "And you're Kay?" A pause. A nod. Kay slid a slim black folder across the table. "This is what they don't want out. Not the public. Not the government. Not even the people working here." Inside the folder were transfer logs, dozens of them, listing inmates supposedly moved overseas to unnamed facilities. But the log dates didn't match flight records. And several of the inmate ID numbers had been officially marked as deceased. Where did they go? Daniel whispered. Kay leaned closer. His voice cracked. They built a new installation. Off-record. Off-grid. They're calling it Black Ridge. It makes this place look like a playground. Before Daniel could ask more, a sharp alarm sounded in the hallway. Kay stiffened. Footsteps thundered toward the door. "You weren't followed here, were you?" Kay asked. Daniel's heart slammed. "No, The door burst open, but no guard stepped in. Just a single keycard, tossed onto the table, and a whisper from the hallway. "They know about the folder." The lights flickered, the room plunged into darkness, and somewhere deep in the prison's restricted wing, a metal door clanged open. And what they found behind it changed everything. For 5 full seconds, Daniel couldn't move. Darkness swallowed the interview room, thick and absolute. The only sound was Kay's sharp breathing beside him. Then, far down the hallway, a heavy steel door slammed shut, a sound that didn't belong anywhere near the administrative wing. Kay grabbed Daniel's sleeve. "We need to move. Now." They slipped out into the corridor just as emergency lights flickered on, casting everything in a pale blue glow. Shadows stretched unnaturally long, twisting across the floor like warning signs. The normal hum of ADX Florence, distant doors, faint chatter, slow foot traffic, had been replaced by something colder. Something controlled. "They're locking down the West Block," Kay said. "That means they're trying to trap us." Someone tipped them off. "Who?" Daniel asked. Kay didn't answer. They turned the corner, but before they could reach the stairwell, a pair of officers appeared. Not ADX guards, their uniforms were wrong. Darker. No name tags. No insignias. Private contractors. Black Ridge. Daniel felt the weight of their stare, expressionless behind mirrored visors. One of them tapped his earpiece. "The journalist has the folder," he said calmly. Kay shoved Daniel through the stairwell door, slamming it shut behind them. Boots pounded down the hall. They ran. Down 2 flights, then 3. The stairwell lights buzzed overhead, flashing with every step. The building seemed to tilt with tension, air tightening around them. Daniel clutched the folder close, every page inside feeling hotter by the second. When they reached the basement landing, Kay stopped abruptly. "We're not going out the main way. That's the first place they'll seal." "Then where?" Kay hesitated, a flicker of fear crossing his face. "There's a sublevel. Most staff don't know about it. It's where they keep detainees in temporary holding before Black Ridge transfer." Daniel stared. "This place has a hidden floor?" "All high-level prisons do. But this one wasn't built by the Bureau of Prisons." Kay swiped his badge on a panel Daniel hadn't even noticed, a small square of metal blending into the wall. A soft click sounded, and the panel slid aside, revealing an elevator door with no button, no floor display, no markings. The kind of elevator that wasn't supposed to exist. The doors opened before they pressed anything. Inside stood a single man. An inmate. But he wasn't in ADX-issued beige. He wore a dark blue jumpsuit with no ID numbers, no patches, nothing to identify him at all. His eyes were wide, terrified, like he'd been waiting for something or someone to open that door. He whispered, "They're moving tonight. Everyone. If you want answers, you need to see the transfer list. The real one." Kay froze. "Where is it?" "The old storage corridor. Past Holding 0. Daniel felt a chill run through his spine. "What's Holding 0? The man swallowed hard. "It's where they keep the ones who were never supposed to exist." Heavy footsteps sounded above them. Closer. Faster. The inmate stepped forward, urgency burning in his voice. "Take the elevator down. Find the corridor. If you don't see it for yourself, no one will believe you." He pushed the folder deeper into Daniel's hands, as if sending him into the dark was the only thing keeping the truth alive. Then the inmate's eyes snapped upward, fear flooding his face. "They're here." Kay slammed the elevator buttonless panel just as the stairwell door above began to groan open. The elevator doors closed. And the last thing Daniel heard before they descended into the hidden sublevel was the sound of a man being dragged back into silence. Down they went, to a floor ADX Florence swore didn't exist. To answers Black Ridge would kill to bury. But what Daniel and Kay would find in that sublevel was something even they weren't prepared for. The elevator shuddered as it descended, deeper than any floor Daniel had ever seen listed in the ADX layout. No display, no sound, just a long, heavy drop into a part of the prison that officially didn't exist. When the door slid open, a wave of cold air drifted in. The hallway beyond was lit by faint blue bulbs, each one flickering like they were struggling to stay alive. The concrete walls were unfinished, raw, carved out rather than built. This wasn't a prison wing. It was a bunker. Kay exhaled slowly. "Stay close. This level. I've only been here twice. And both times, I wished I hadn't." They moved forward. The air felt heavier with each step, like the floor itself was absorbing the weight of what happened down here. Every 20 feet, Daniel saw a steel door with no window, no markings, no numbers, just thick reinforced metal that looked more like vaults than holding cells. Then they reached it. A larger door, painted black, with a sign stenciled in white. "Holding 0, authorized access only." Kay swallowed. This is where they keep transfers who can't go on the record. People governments deny. People agencies pretend don't exist. Daniel felt the hair on his arms rise. "And the real transfer list is past this?" Kay nodded. "If we're right, this is where the disappearances start." The door was locked by a biometric pad. Kay placed his badge against it, but the panel flashed red. Daniel's chest tightened. "What now?" Kay hesitated, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a small metallic strip. "A master override. If they know we're down here, we have one shot before this entire level seals." He pressed the strip to the pad. A long beep sounded. The light turned green. The door clicked open. Inside, holding zero, was nothing like a detention area. It was quiet, unnervingly clean, almost medical. A row of empty chairs lined the wall, restraints built into their frames. Files were scattered across a metal desk, as if someone had left in a hurry. On the far end stood a locked cabinet. Kay cracked it open. Daniel gasped. Inside, stacked in precise rows, were documents stamped with multiple international seals, but all the names were redacted. Entire pages blacked out except for dates and locations. Transfers from Europe, South America, the Middle East, all routed through a facility that didn't officially exist. Kay flipped deeper into the stack. This isn't a prison. Black Ridge is a network. Daniel opened another file. A map. Not of ADX Florence. Of 3 separate sites, all remote, all unnamed, and all connected by a single handwritten sentence at the top. Emergency Containment Directive. Expansion phase approved. Before they could process it, the hallway lights snapped off. A voice echoed through the dark via hidden speakers. Come. Controlled. Daniel Rourke. Kevin Hale. You've accessed restricted material. Transfer protocol initiated. Kay froze. They're activating the security purge. Daniel's blood chilled. Meaning? Kay looked at him, eyes wide. Meaning this floor is about to lock down permanently. They ran, sprinting into the dark corridor as heavy shutters began slamming shut behind them. The bunker roared with metallic thunder. Alarms shrieked. The floor trembled. A shutter dropped inches behind Daniel's heels. 2 more. Then 3. They reached the elevator, just as the final shutter began to descend. Daniel dove under, rolling through. Kay followed, but the shutter slammed faster. Kay, move. Daniel screamed. Kay threw the remaining files across the gap. Tell people what you saw, he shouted. The shutter dropped. Kay didn't make it through. Daniel pounded the metal, breath shaking. Another alarm blasted overhead, the elevator resetting for total lockdown. He jumped inside, slamming the only button he could find. The elevator rocketed upward. Past the hidden floor. Past the basement. Past everything. It shot him into the night, through an emergency exit that burst open onto the freezing Colorado wind. Behind him, ADX Florence returned to silence. No evidence. No witness. Just Daniel. And the truth sealed beneath hundreds of tons of concrete. 3 months later, Daniel released his documentary. It went viral. But the night it reached 1 million views, the package arrived at his doorstep. No return address. Inside was a single photograph. A man in a dark blue jumpsuit, standing in a new facility, smiling, with 3 words written on the back. Expansion phase complete. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it.